The main focus of my channel is gameplay. I do care about the other stuff, but you'll notice that a lot of my videos will only briefly touch on things like visuals, music, story, and all the stuff that isn't directly tied to how the game feels to play. That's why I generally don't call my videos reviews. I'm not here to examine every aspect of the game equally. I'm not going to play a game on multiple consoles to check the performance. I'm here to talk about what I care about, what's most important to me. And when I play a new game, I want it to show me what it's all about. Those first hours of playing are all about feeling out what my options are, how systems work, what the game's asking me to do, what's important and what's not. And maybe it turns out to be something I don't personally enjoy, but I can respect when a game is well made even if it's not for me. I like when a game asks me to learn how to play it, punishing me for ignoring its systems, rewarding me for playing well, and offering a deeper level of engagement once the learning period is passed. And those concepts of punishment and reward can be very different across different games, and balance varies greatly from game to game. Any game can be broken with enough knowledge and playtime. Some games are broken much sooner than others. But I think what's important is that the game at least make an effort to show you the benefits of engaging with its interesting systems, so that when you do get to the point where you're good enough to break the game, you love the systems so much that you choose not to ignore them in favor of playing in a dumb, broken way that exploits the game's faults. If a game has done its job, your first playthrough will make you want to play the game better, not worse. The most important playthrough is the first one. Most people only play a game one time anyway, and even then a lot of them don't finish the game. The first playthrough bears a lot of responsibility for impressing the player, because really, the experience of playing a game once and not really liking it, and then replaying it to eventually discover that you do like it, is not very common compared to all the people that simply won't give it a second chance. The stronger your first playthrough is, the more likely it is that the player will become a fan of your game, recommend it to others, replay it, and possibly even learn to master it. So what does this have to do with style meters? Well, of all the ways to encourage players to experiment with your mechanics and play in a fun, interesting way, I think a style meter is by far the worst. I'm not against style meters and rankings and scoring systems, but they should not be a straight-up substitute for good gameplay. Now, good gameplay is hard to define, especially when so many different types of games exist, and people like different things. But generally, engaging in a game's systems should be important for continuing forward in the game. Many things like level design, enemy intelligence, coordination, resource management, strategy planning, experimentation, accuracy, quick reactions, multitasking, communication, and all kinds of decision making contribute to the gameplay experience of many of the best games in all genres. In the worst case of style meter implementation, you would have a game where absolutely nothing matters except for the style meter. You'd have a game where you could mindlessly hit any button you want, and there would be little to no consequence for bad decision making, while engaging in the game's other options would give you a high score or ranking. In the best case of style meter implementation, you'd have a game where playing well was important to your success, and you'd come to love the interesting options due to how important they were to learn. And on top of that, there's a score or ranking system to give you bragging rights and unlock more features. Video games have existed for like half a century at this point, as have scoring systems. Some of you might be old enough to remember trying to get a high score on the old arcade cabinets at the pizza place. But even if you weren't playing with the goal of getting a high score, which I never was, you still had to play well or else you'd have to keep popping in quarters. Playing to get a high score and playing casually required the same skills. So let's go way back and talk about a game that is as classic as they come. Pinball. Yeah, pinball. What is pinball? Well, you launch a metal ball through a machine, watching it bounce off bumpers, jump ramps, and come flying back towards you, to be launched back into the machine by two flippers that you control with buttons on the side. If all the balls slip through the flippers, the game is over, and you put in another quarter. Pinball has a scoring system. It is technically a score-based game, and if you hit a bunch of point bonuses and land some cool tricks and skill shots, you'll activate a bunch of flashing lights and get point multipliers. This could be called a style meter in a way. Playing enough pinball will eventually get you a high score, and there are lots of people even today who are extremely talented pinball players that get incredibly high scores and do unimaginably impressive tricks on different machines. But you gotta put that stuff aside and think, what is it like the first time you play pinball? When you walk up to that big machine and put a quarter in, having never played a pinball machine before, what are you trying to do? Is the first thing on your mind the scoring system? Are you studying the machine looking for all the bonus sections and getting worried about maintaining a point multiplier? No, of course not. You're trying to figure out how to play the game. The ball is flying everywhere, it's hard to control the trajectory when you hit it. You're figuring out tactics like holding the ball on a single flipper and then launching it at the right angle. You're just trying not to lose so fast, because when you lose, you gotta put in another quarter. That's your negative reinforcement. It's a tangible consequence. If you screw around and don't play right, you're punished by having to spend more money. You are technically trying to aim for points. Otherwise, you could just hold the ball on a flipper forever unless there's a timer. But when you're learning to play, that ball is gonna slip out of your control really fast. It's not gonna go where you want. It's gonna bounce all over the place, you're gonna panic, and you're gonna spend a lot of time just trying to get control and not lose the ball. You're gonna lose track of the whole scoring system pretty quick. The first experiences of pinball are simply about keeping the ball going and developing coordination. That's where you find the fun of the game. And once you've hit the point of having fun with the game's mechanics, after being pushed into learning them through consequences, you start caring more about the point system. You fall in love with how the game is played first, and then style and scores become important. If pinball were a game that could be played by randomly mashing the flippers, just mindlessly hitting the ball around and there's very little chance that you'll lose your turn, it wouldn't be the fault of the players for playing in such a boring way. It would be the game's fault for not asking them to play better. The high-skill scoring system would still be there, but the game would never ask anything of a new player. And most of the players who are now experts in high scores wouldn't even exist today because they never would have fallen in love with the game in the first place due to never having been pushed into learning how it's really played. Games have been like this from the start. You play a game for the challenge and fun it provides through its design, and then the score becomes something you care about when you're good. We can apply this to modern video games and their style systems, examining how they introduce new players to their gameplay mechanics. And we're going to look at 6 games that do this to various degrees of success and failure. Bayonetta, God of War, Ultrakill, Ninja Gaiden, Streets of Rage 4, and Devil May Cry 5. I'll be talking about these games in terms of my experience with them, and I'm sure there will be lots of disagreement depending on how much importance you personally place on scoring systems in general. I place no importance on scoring systems if they have no tangible impact on gameplay. And like in the pinball example, I see scores as something to aspire to once the game has done its job in making you fall in love with the way it's designed to be played. A scoring system and/or style meter is not a substitute for engaging gameplay. You should be able to remove the entire scoring system and still have a game that encourages dynamic and skillful play through its natural sense of challenge and fun. When a player picks up Ninja Gaiden for the first time and plays on normal, or God forbid on hard, the end of level style ranking is the last thing on your mind because you're too busy trying not to die. There's so much to learn in the first levels, and then when you do actually get pretty good and you start doing things like parries, air combos, using orb charges to level up your attacks to cause other enemies to drop even more orbs, you're playing in those fun, stylish ways because it has a real benefit during combat. Then, at the end of the level, you get a Master Ninja ranking instead of a pathetic Ninja Dog ranking. And that's nice. It doesn't really mean anything, and your stylish, intelligent play has evolved out of your love for the game you're playing. Ninja Gaiden's ranking system is ultimately arbitrary as it adds nothing to the gameplay. Another game that does this sort of low-impact style ranking is Streets of Rage 4. You're engaging in the combo system, using defensive specials, pulling off flashy attack sequences, because you're trying to stay alive, and you're going for point bonuses that eventually give you extra lives that you desperately need to make it through the level as you're learning the game, provided you're playing on an appropriately challenging difficulty. Your points per level also add to an overall total that goes towards unlocking additional playable characters. Maintaining a long series of attacks gets the point multiplier to increase, which makes you want to keep your offense going. But if you get hit at any point, the multiplier disappears and you'll lose all the points you would have earned if you had simply allowed the multiplier to expire naturally. Defensive specials drain your temporary health, but long combo attacks recharge that health hit by hit. Grabs are very powerful and have invulnerability frames, and greatly contribute to the point multiplier while you're racking up damage, but they do not recharge health drained by defensive specials. Blitz attacks are very powerful and at times abusable, but have recovery frames that open you up to enemy attacks if used at the wrong time. There's a lot of reasons to engage in the systems of Streets of Rage 4, apart from the style ranking at the end of the level. And speaking as someone who doesn't care about rankings, I feel good about achieving an S rank. I feel good about it now because I've already put in my time falling in love with the game and how it plays, so there's a sense of satisfaction upon seeing that S. Streets of Rage 4's ranking system is a reflection of the points you gained, but you're not actually aiming for that. You're aiming for high individual level points to gain enough extra lives to survive to the end, and the style ranking at the end simply tells you how well you've done that. It's not a goal in and of itself. Bayonetta actually has individual combat encounter rankings, and then a ranking total at the end of the level. And again, like the other games I just mentioned, it doesn't really mean anything. It has some nice limitations on it, like decreasing the value of attacks that you overuse, penalizing you for using potions. Playing in smart, stylish ways yields you a bunch of halos that you can use to unlock new attacks and items to help you during combat. So there's a decent incentive to try to earn as many as you can. But where I think it fails is in your starting combat options. Bayonetta gives you so many attack options right at the start that not only is it overwhelming to the point where I don't even want to add new attacks to the list as I'm trying to learn this game on a first playthrough, but I also feel like I don't need these extra attacks since the normal difficulty is so easy to mash through anyway. Fortunately, on the hard difficulty, there's more need to unlock additional moves, so engaging in the style system will get you some more halos. I only wish this kind of pressure existed as an option for new players who wanted it. Here's the thing about Bayonetta. Since the game's highest available difficulty for a new player is pretty damn easy, there's really not much to discourage people from mashing buttons and doing a bunch of random bullshit to pass every combat encounter. There's not much pressure on you to play the game well, like there is in Ninja Gaiden and Streets of Rage 4. So there's that risk that players may simply not pick up on the interesting mechanics of Bayonetta because they aren't necessary for beating the game, until you unlock the hard difficulty where they become insanely important, and you have to engage in them to beat the game. That's when a player can truly fall in love with how the game is meant to be played, and you can start caring about a meaningless ranking system. And I think a big reason for Bayonetta's disconnect between stylish play and its actual gameplay design, at least on the normal difficulty, is the recharging health system. If you're not going into Bayonetta immediately with the mindset of, I'm gonna try to get a high style ranking, you'll notice that if you finish a fight with low health and then go into the next fight and die immediately, you respawn at the beginning of that fight with full health. I think that's a really poor design decision, one that I have regularly criticized in the new God of War games. If you can simply refill your health by dying immediately in the next fight and respawning, then you've been robbed of the satisfaction of finishing a fight with high health. It feels great to make it through a tough combat encounter having taken little to no damage, when there's a reason for it. In a game like the original God of War, you had defined health refill stations. So if you left a fight with a lot of health, you were going into the next fight in a good position. It made you want to protect your health and play smart, due to the consequences of leaving a fight with low health. So if I could make one change to Bayonetta, it would be to remove the refilling health mechanic and instead tie health regeneration to the torture attacks you can use once you get a full magic meter. That's something I love about Bayonetta. If you get hit, you lose a lot of your magic meter. That drives you to want to be defensive in combat. And if you can get enough magic to execute a torture attack, you'll do a lot of damage. And I think this should also refill a small amount of health. This would put pressure on you to play better, engage in more of the game's mechanics, and build up your magic meter for the big attacks more often. You'd be protecting your health bar more, and refilling the health bar more as a result. That way you'd feel good about leaving a fight with high health and taking that high health into the next fight. Working for your health, whether it be through combat or exploration, is much more satisfying than getting it back for free, with the only downside being that you negatively affect an arbitrary style ranking. I mentioned the classic God of War games, so let's get into those. I'll stick to the original game. God of War doesn't have a level-by-level ranking system, but it does have somewhat of a combo style system during combat. It doesn't go any further than some encouraging words popping up on the side of the screen. What you're looking at is the orbs, since orbs are used to level up your magic attacks and especially your blades, giving you access to higher damage and useful attacks that deal devastating damage or can be used for long combo extensions, thereby giving you even larger orb bonuses. Getting hit causes your combo to end, so there's an incentive to play defensively. But large multi-hit attacks rack up lots of hits for high orb bonuses, so that's an incentive to play risky and offensively. It's a nice balance. You're given a limited number of attacks and shown immediately that you can unlock more with these red orbs. 20 seconds into the game, you're piecing this stuff together. Okay, limited moveset, long combos give me orbs unlock more moves, don't get hit or your combo breaks, got it. God of War also offers a hard difficulty setting for new players who want to be held accountable for their combat decisions, delivering an experience fairly similar to Ninja Gaiden on a first playthrough. Now, God of War is certainly not a perfectly balanced game. There's plenty of things you can exploit, and if it were remade today, I would want to tweak it a bit. But what I appreciate about God of War is that right at the beginning, they show you what the benefits are of engaging in the combo system. And in my personal experience, I wouldn't have experimented nearly as much with the deeper aspects of combat if I hadn't been shown early on that my performance was directly tied to my ability to upgrade my weapons and unlock new attacks. If God of War had an end-of-level ranking system, I would welcome it, and I would shoot for a high score because the game already, in my opinion, does a good job of getting me interested in how it's supposed to be played. It just needs some balance tuning to make the interesting mechanics harder to ignore as you go forward. What I appreciate about God of War's XP-based combat system is what I don't appreciate about Devil May Cry 5's. All I can do is speak from my experience. I bought Devil May Cry 5, the game started with only basic moves like God of War, so I was inspired to unlock more, but it gave me 100,000 orbs at the start that I was able to use to unlock all the attacks that I needed. So as a new player unfamiliar with this franchise, I was fighting enemies and seeing this style meter that gave me an orb bonus, but I didn't feel like I needed orbs anymore. I already had everything I needed. And the highest available difficulty is normal, which is laughably easy in most cases. So right from the outset, DMC5 sabotaged its introduction when it was supposed to be showing me the importance of stylish play methods. I did eventually unlock a hard difficulty and I started to feel more pressure to play in stylish and creative ways, but it was out of a need for survival, not because of a style ranking that, at that point, meant very little in terms of gameplay, except for the free Sin Trigger attack for Dante. On top of all that, it feels very easy to get a high style meter just by doing random stuff and spamming moves. Unlike Bayonetta, where the hard difficulty starts with a fresh save option, DMC5 starts you with all the unlocks from the normal playthrough, so you don't need to worry about engaging with the style system to unlock necessary abilities. You already have them. Fortunately, when you get to higher difficulties, the game opens up and there are real benefits to playing in more interesting ways, and it has nothing to do with getting a high ranking. I made it far enough to eventually see the depth of DMC5, but I couldn't blame someone for playing the game once and dropping it, feeling like it's a mindless button masher, because that's how it insists on presenting itself, even if ultimately it ends up being something far from it. Which brings me to Ultrakill, a game that proudly promotes itself as being inspired by Devil May Cry. And I'm sorry, but I think this is a really poorly implemented style ranking system. I don't think Ultrakill is a bad game. I think it's a decent, cool game that has some fun stuff if you really go looking for it. But this isn't about the games overall. This is about the connection between their ranking systems and their gameplay. First of all, like DMC5, and honestly like God of War, it has the same exact problem of your starting attack option being way too powerful. An infinite ammo pistol that charges into a multi-hitting railgun shot, and combined with your insane triple dash mobility options and super easy health refill, it ends up trivializing all the encounters in the early levels, and even later levels. So if you're not playing this game with the expressed goal of getting a high ranking for fast completion time and weapon style, the default pistol is the solution to every problem, so who cares about these other weapons? You might say, well, getting a high ranking gives you extra credits to unlock alternate versions of future weapons, just like God of War, DMC, and Bayonetta. To which I would say, even if you play like an idiot, you'll gain enough points to unlock them because they don't cost hardly anything. It's not like God of War is, or how Bayonetta and Devil May Cry try to be, where they show you a bunch of moves that you really want to unlock, and they're dangling them in front of you, tempting you to try to get more points. No, they are gradually presented to you, and by the time they're available, you already have enough points to buy them even if you haven't been playing very well. And again, who cares about these weapon upgrades? The pistol charge shot is working just fine. And because of the terrible weapon balance, infinite ammo, insane mobility, and super simplistic AI, you aren't pushed into the interesting mechanics through actual gameplay. You don't end up playing in creative and smart ways just because you're trying to survive, eventually resulting in a high style ranking as a natural consequence, like in Ninja Gaiden or Streets of Rage 4. The best way for a new player to survive shouldn't be the dumbest, most boring thing you can do. You should at least present some kind of motivation not to do that. Imagine if Ultrakill had limited ammo, and using different weapons caused your ammo to refill. Or what if maintaining a high style meter gave you a damage buff, making higher difficulties more manageable? Or maybe the style meter tied into a health regeneration system. Or maybe the starting weapon could be really crappy, and the only way to get better weapons was by getting enough points exclusively through the style system. There's so many things you could do to make the stylish mechanics actually mean something. Instead, the ranking system ultimately feels arbitrary. And I'll admit, now that I know how to play Ultrakill after spending hours in it, if I play with the goal of trying to get through the levels as quickly as possible and get a high ranking, I end up having a lot more fun. But the game does a very poor job of getting you to that point or that mentality. Maybe if there was a timer to put a lot of pressure on you to beat fights quickly or you die, something to actually make you care about beating it quickly, I don't know. Because in its current state, if it didn't have a ranking system, Ultrakill would just be this insanely broken game with no reason to engage in all the available mechanics. And I think that's a poor way to design your gameplay, I'm sorry. Maybe this stuff would fly 20 years ago, but these days you gotta do more. Think about it for a minute if you're an Ultrakill player. If you had limited ammo that automatically regenerated very slowly, but maintaining a high style meter caused ammo regeneration to get significantly faster, then you would have a game where new players who aren't any good would actually have an in-game reason to get good and aim for a high style meter. And players who are already good would be unaffected because they're already maintaining high style meters, and they'd basically be regenerating the infinite ammo which they already have right now. It's a win-win. Ultrakill needs something like this. Without some kind of incentivization system, there's no reason for new players to engage in your style meter.
Yeah, I know the wash machines blow over the cat.
Hey, Abel.
Yeah, one moment.
What are you doing right now, man?
I'm talking with my dad.
Well, not anymore. Crom, take his phone.
Yeah, I know, dude. Yo, what the f-
Alright, so me and Crom have designed this awesome brand new game.
This better be good.
Check it out, man. Yeah, you wanna try it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Crom, explain the rules.
Alright. So, you start here. You got it? Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Alright, so you start here.
Here.
Yeah, so you start here, and you're gonna take your character all the way to the end. Got it?
That's it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Go.
Yeah.
Whoa,
What's going on? What are you doing?
I just went to the end like you told me. Bro, what did I do wrong?
Well, why did you just go to the end?
Because you told me to do that.
But what about the style points?
The style points?
Yeah, bro, the style points. You gotta go to the other parts to get the points.
Yeah.
Do I need those points to reach the end?
Well, no.
So...
You can unlock new moves.
New moves? I can just go straight to the end.
But that's boring.
Then you made a boring game.
Oh, look, you can't just take a direct path to the end, okay? You gotta make the game fun.
Isn't that Georgia?
Well, look, dude, if you get a high point score, then you can show all your friends.
I don't have any friends.
Look, man, just play it again, and this time try to get the style points, okay?
Okay.
Alright. Oh, okay, he's got a 2x multiplier.
Yeah.
Alright, he's keeping it going.
That's
nice.
Parry, bro.
Nice, okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, 4x multiplier?
Ooh.
That is sweet.
Oh, man.
It's a good combo he's got going, really.
Oh, look at all those style
Oh,
points.
dude, savage combo. Look at all those points.
That's so cool. Yeah, come on. Let's go.
All right, he's near the end. He's almost there.
Go.
Yes!
Yes!
Yes! Woo!
Awesome!
All right.
Woo!
Man, yes. Woo! Dude, how do you feel?
What is wrong with you people?
What?
Jesus.
Don't worry about it, man. He just doesn't get it. This is going to sell millions. I can feel it. If I had to grade all these games based on their relation between ranking systems and gameplay, it would go like this. Ninja Gaiden, C+. The game does a good job of pushing the player into stylish and intelligent play, especially with a challenging normal difficulty and the option of a hard difficulty for new players. But the ranking system provides no benefits whatsoever, and there's no in-game style meter to keep track of how well you're doing. God of War, B+. A limited attack list combined with combo-based orb bonuses provides solid incentive for engaging in stylish play, and the option of a hard difficulty ensures that new players can be pushed into playing smart, making them want to get more orbs through the combo system to upgrade their character faster to meet the challenge. However, weapon balance is an issue that makes it too easy to ignore the combo system once you figure out cheap tactics, and an end-of-level style ranking would be very welcome. Bayonetta, B-. A detailed style meter system combined with expensive purchases in the store provide a decent incentive for engaging in stylish play, and it helps that it's so easy to freestyle given how smooth Bayonetta's combat feels. The loss of magic upon being hit inspires defensive play, especially on high difficulties. However, an overabundance of combat options at the beginning detracts from the need to buy new attacks, and an easy health refill system discourages smart play by removing tangible consequences from the experience. And the first playthrough is set to normal by default, which makes the game too easy. Fortunately, the game requires smart, stylish play on higher difficulties, and the ranking system then serves as a personal goal set for players who love the game and want to master the combat without using special items. And as a nice bonus, if you get an average platinum score upon completion, you unlock an additional playable character. That's great. Ultrakill, D. Fun gameplay emerges when you're pushing yourself towards high rankings, but the game really fails to provide solid in-game reasons for doing so. Currency earned from high rankings feels pointless as new weapons are unlocked easily through even mediocre play. An overpowered starting weapon, infinite ammo, and uninteresting AI renders other weapons and tactics unnecessary even on higher difficulties, and the in-game style meter doesn't affect moment-to-moment combat. Devil May Cry 5, C. Sharing some of the same problems of Bayonetta and Ultrakill, DMC5's ranking system largely feels arbitrary, especially when the first playthrough is stuck being on the normal difficulty, which is very easy to mash through. The game gives you 100,000 orbs to unlock all the attacks you need, making the orb bonus from the style meter pointless. And the style meter is very easy to manipulate through random mashing and spamming. However, similar to Bayonetta, once the game is played on higher difficulties, stylish play does emerge naturally, which is then reflected by high rankings. Streets of Rage 4, A-. 5 available difficulty options for new players, beautiful synergy between life-draining defensive specials and life-regenerating combo attacks, invulnerability frames during grab animations, a point system based on overall damage and not number of hits, the addictive risk-reward of trying to maintain a long combo when getting hit means you could lose everything, and the goal of gaining extra lives through the point system. All of this makes smart, stylish play the default way to play Streets of Rage 4. The end-of-level ranking system is the cherry on top that reflects how well you've engaged in the game's systems, as evidenced by the point total, and overall points contribute to character unlocks and a sense of progression. The only thing keeping this from being an A+ is maybe making the achievement of S rank give an additional bonus to something, and the game needs an S+ rank with much stricter requirements. You know what? Let's throw one more in there. I talk about Resident Evil a lot on this channel. So, did you know Resident Evil has a ranking system? Yeah, you're graded based on how fast you beat the game and how many times you saved. The first time you play, you don't even know about it. You engage in the systems of survival horror, exploration, resource and inventory management, puzzle solving, enemy avoidance, because that's what's necessary to survive. And then, expressing your mastery of those systems earns you a high ranking at the end after you've already fallen in love with how the game plays, because it was required to play like that to beat the game in the first place. So those are my thoughts on style meters and ranking systems. I had originally planned to make this a longer section in my original Challenge Matters video, but I decided it was better suited for its own video. So this works as an extension of that theme, and that's why I'm repeating some of my points and examples from that video. I appreciate all of you taking the time to hear me out on this. Honestly, it's not like I have a problem with people who go crazy over style meters. If you play a hack and slash game or whatever it is, and all you care about is styling on enemies even if the game is super easy, well, I'm happy for you. But I really do think the games can be more than that. They can be more and still offer you the same stylish satisfaction you like so much. I know it because I've seen it. Thank you for watching this video. You can check me out on Patreon. I've got a merch store with lots of cool shirts and stuff. And now you can buy your own game board to play awesome Style Quest with your friends at home. Check it out.